All right, hey folks, Will Roberts here, and of course, howtocowboytricks.com. And today we're going to talk about the infamous butterfly. This is called the butterfly. It goes back and forth. It's considered a vertical trick as opposed to a horizontal trick. So it is probably the coolest thing you could do as a trick roper. And certainly when you do these with a rope, whether it be a cotton or a poly rope, if you're walking around doing this, people will go, as a cowboy, cowgirl, cowfolk, they certainly would say that because it is a hard trick to do, and it certainly looks really cool if you learn how to do just the basic butterfly with either a ranch rope, a poly rope, or a rope like this, which is a cotton spot cord. I will tell you that I am increasing my product line in the sense that I've got ropes, my book, which is the Whoopee trick roping book from 1936 that I have the rights to now. And then also, I'm going to be making some kitty trick ropes that are going to be kind of fun. A kit for Christmas or birthday or whatever. And it'll include the rope, a kitty trick rope, and the book. And on the back it's got a picture of me in my Will Rogers style stuff and signed. And some other things that are coming down the pike. But let's talk a little bit about the butterfly. The butterfly is by far one of the hardest tricks to do trick roping wise, because it is something that takes a long time to understand the actual mechanics of it. So I'm going to try to take it apart and tell you what we're doing here. One thing you should know in the beginning is that with trick roping, if you are skipping ahead and not looking at my other videos, is that I've always said this and I will always say it, that trick roping is physics, because there's a weight, which is the Hondu right here, that is put together. I put mine together like that. And on my solo rope that I use for my shows, I use for Cirque du Soleil, I put a burner. Now I've played with lots of different burners, and that's what a burner looks like. Some people don't use burners. Now I'm going to give you a disclaimer. Sometimes you'll see me do things that you'll see no other trick roper do, and sometimes you'll see other trick ropers doing things that I'll never do, which is basically the same statement said different ways. But what I mean by that is that, again, some don't use burners, some do. The reason for a burner, and a lot of times you want it on a rope that you're doing any kind of butterflies with or rollover, is because just what I just did right there is it stalls and you can get more out of it, because the burner is actually something that it kind of engages the rope a little bit more and slows it down. Because when you don't use a burner on a rope, you have to, I have one here somewhere. It's Ryder Kisner's, a good friend of mine. Hold on. I'm back. So here's a good example. See, this is a rope that Ryder gave me. We were doing a gig, and I said, hey dude, let me have one of your ropes. And he goes, okay. So he sent me his rope. Now this is a smaller gauge rope, and it's a little bit, there, it's fine now. This is a smaller gauge rope, and it feels like it is cement. It is hard. It's hard. This rope here is softer. I don't know how else to show it to you. But I get my ropes from King Ropes. And every once in a while I'll get them from Western Stage, but it's kind of hit and miss on that, and no offense, but their cotton spot cord, which is Samson spot cord at, I almost said Mark Allen, who used to own it. Now it's Juggly, Doubly, whatever, those people. And they're not really trick ropers, but they have the equipment. But the point is that stuff that Mark has, or Western Stage Props has, is cotton core. The stuff that you get from King Ropes, which you see me wearing a hat a lot, is this stuff, and it is nylon, okay? Which makes it a heavier rope. And also, King Ropes also does something where they treat it, and it stinks. I love it, and it's great. But this is I'm not sure, but I'm almost sure, because I just ordered some more of this. This is a 7/16 gauge. This is thick, and I love it because this is like old school 20s, 30s, Will Rogers. You see pictures of Will Rogers and you see a rope. This is thick rope. I love it. And it is a lot heavier, I think, than the regular ropes. And here's the stuff that Ryder uses. And Luke Rollins uses this. I think AJ Silver is using climbing rope. AJ's amazing. He could probably spin thread. Well, they're all amazing. Okay. But anyway, the point is that this is what Ryder uses. You can see the gauge difference. It may not be real obvious, but it is with me. So here's the other thing, and I'm showing you this all for a reason. You'll get why in a minute. Look at this Honda. It has a metal Honda in it. Honda, whatever you want to call it. I said Honda once on my YouTube video, and I got a couple of email or messages from vaqueros, cowboys, charros that are like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's called a Honda. Whatever. Anyway, so this right here, you really literally have to spin it a lot faster, or if you don't spin it faster, you will lose that loop because it will not stay open as easily if you slow it down. So this is more of a speed rope, and if you watch Ryder Kisner doing his rope, he's infamous for being that, you know, bow, 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 and he's like boom and hitting it and wow, 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 wow. You know, that's his style, because he's younger than me, but I got a lot of energy. Anyway, but that is his style, and it's amazing. It's amazing, but that is because he like knows the rope, and he is very good at this rope. But point is that I take and I use this thick rope, which I love, and I use a burner and no metal in there. I do sometimes put JB Weld on my Hondas, but all this stuff is really important. And if you're getting into trick roping, all this stuff is like, to me, and I'm sure it will be to you too, because you're probably like, tell me more, because that's what trick roping tends to be about. So is gun spinning and whips. You go, oh, even if it's little tidbits of tricks and things you could do to be able to do the trick, it's like, give me more. So that was your give me more on some of these ropes and understanding them. So how do you do a butterfly? So first of all, one thing I want to explain, which I said in the very beginning, which I didn't elaborate, it went off on another subject, was the fact is that if you haven't watched my other roping videos, you would not know that this is actually winding up and coming out, winding up, coming out, winding up, coiling, uncoiling, coiling, uncoiling. And here's what I mean. When you spin a rope, and if you keep spinning the rope in the same direction, if you were to hold it, I can't do it here in my lighting area, but if you were to keep spinning a rope in one direction, you would basically kink that rope up. And you can see that if you really are spinning a rope in a certain direction, and it starts doing this. And then when you let go, it goes, and it's a problem, because when you're trick roping, you can't have that, because what happens to the loop is that it goes, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere it'll go like this, and it'll be all wound up, and you'll be like trying to rope, and it won't work, because you constantly have to either keep it spinning in your fingers like we've talked about on flat loops and anything else that you do with trick roping, or you have to constantly be spinning it one way, changing directions, and then spinning it the other way. Because when you change the directions, for instance, on a butterfly, you're actually, again, winding it up, and you're uncoiling it. Winding it, uncoiling, winding it, uncoiling, winding it, coiling, 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 getting tight, coiling, uncoiling, uncoiling, uncoiling. So I just want you to understand that, because that's very important. Okay, here we go. So a butterfly is basically going to be done by taking your hand like this, like you were going to take and throw and rope, like you were going to do a regular rope. I always say probably about to your elbow that you're going to grab the rope, the spoke, by the Honda. So it looks like this. It's not like this, I don't go like this and spin. I go about 1.5 or 2 feet down the rope. I make the loop about the size from my feet to my belt buckle. That's about as big as I make the rope for that. I also coil the rope in my left hand. If you're left-handed, then do it opposite. But I want you to understand something. I see this a lot. I would not personally do that because you always want to have control over all of your rope. And the reason why is because you never know. You're going to bust into another trick. You might make it bigger. You might make it smaller. And I also keep it low. See how I'm keeping it low on this hand? Some people will go up here. I keep it low. I think it looks better. You can relax. And you can feed your rope in and out. Here. Feed it in and out. It's like if I want to make it bigger, I'm feeding it here. Okay? But if you have it on the ground, there's a chance that it will not actually feed through where you make it bigger or smaller. In addition, I just think it looks kind of sloppy. If you have your rope and you're doing this, and you have no coil in your hand. When you're doing a butterfly, I recommend you do that. If you're building it, you can drop the rope because you're going to be feeding it through your hand. Let's start. I keep saying that, but I'm giving you all these little extra tips. I hope you're getting some of this. I'll try to review it in the end. So butterfly basically starts like this. It starts on the right side. I'll do this side too. And then you're going to take it this way. You're going to turn your hand over. So here we go. My hand is here. I'm going to turn my hand like I'm looking at my watch, which if you're under 20 right now, you're like, what's that? Anyway, so I turn my hand and then I'm going to throw it and make a circle and spin it. So it looks like this. Now, I just gave a lesson to a young man yesterday, whatever, that he'd be glad that I said that. And I told him, I think it's important that you keep your hand near your belt buckle when you're trick roping, because sometimes you get the gimp, we call it, where you're like trick roping and you got your hands up here, or you're doing a wedding ring and you're kind of doing funky things. But keep it near your belt buckle. But what you're going to do is you're going to take it like this, hand face down. You're going to move it this way, and you're going to go across your body, turn your body. And then when you turn your body, you're going to throw it, and then go this way and go that way. And I'll explain the other parts in a second. Think of trick roping or any of this stuff, guns and whips and so on, almost like a dance where you can count 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 2. Because, you get a metronome app or something, because really want to let you know that a lot of this stuff with trick roping has to do with beats and knowing where you're going to be. If you're doing a flat loop and you want to know when exactly that Honda or the spoke, because when the spoke goes by your leg, you tap, tap, tap. It'd be great if you went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so, anyway. And a lot of times when you're counting in dance and so on, you go, and 5 and 6 and 5. The point is you go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, because the step may be on the number or the and. So I'm giving you these tips because I want you to start counting in your head when you're doing things. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and change. So yeah, it's a dance, but I'm just telling you this because I think it'll help you out in the future, because life is about rhythm and stepping on the right foot at the right time. So, first part of it, and I always believe in taking things apart and doing them one piece at a time. So 1, 2, 3, okay? Now a butterfly is actually going to spin 1.5. So the revolution on the butterfly is going to be 1.5. So the rope goes in a circle from Hondu in one circle 1.5 times before you pull it back to the other side and do the same thing. Watch, and I'll try to slow it down for you. I'll edit it that way though. Here we go. Okay, something you should realize is that when you're watching me do this, there's something really important I want you to realize. Is that I'm trying to keep my elbow as close to my body as I can. Sometimes I see people trick roping butterflies and their arms are all out and they're using their arms. And if you want not carpal tunnel, but if you want bad rotator problems, you certainly can do that all you want. But the reality is that when you spin a rope and you're doing these butterflies, it's in my wrist. If you look at my wrist, slow it down, you'll notice that my wrist is actually the one that's doing the spinning. Watch the difference. That's me trying to manhandle it and spinning it with my arm instead. It's not the way it goes. You want to keep it into your body. My arm is into my body. If you play golf, you'll understand that, because in golf, if you throw your arm out, you cast over the club and the ball, and you get a nice big slice. You try to do this thing here where you keep it near your body and you're putting it through. There's a golf tip for you, by the way, as well. But same thing with roping, and really any of the stuff that we do, a lot of the whips and stuff, I kind of treat it like martial arts. I've taken Aikido and some other martial arts, and that is that this is your center. You want to keep everything in here, and you're roping. And if you want to bust out and do different stuff, you can. But I try to keep that concentrated right there in the center. And no matter what I do, and so I slowed it down. Now here's again the mechanics. 1.5 over, 1.5 over, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. It may look like I'm doing 1, but I'm actually going 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. This is the hardest thing to do and remember when you are doing the butterflies. All right, here's a way to practice that will help you learn the motion and the timing for the butterfly. It looks like this. Take your rope, keep it coiled, take off about a foot, okay? Don't do too much, because you don't want to do what I'm about to show you with too much rope. Take about a foot. And I have I used to have a rope that I would take this is a 17 foot or something like that. And I would take and put tape around it, colored tape. Like for that practice thing, I would put it here. So that way I could grab my rope and go, oh, that's where I'm supposed to grab for that, that trick, that lesson, or what do you call it? I don't know what you call it anyway. That's where I'm supposed to grab. So I know. And then I would put also sometimes when I would try out my rope in a flat loop and see how big it gets before it gets to be too big, is I would then stop the rope, grab it up by the Honda like this, and I would mark the rope there, knowing that's where my full extent of the rope is, where it's totally round and perfect and not too big. So use tape to mark these on some of these ropes that you have, just so you know. So here it is. You're doing the butterfly, and it's 1.5. Here's the trick you do to practice before you even do the butterfly or attempt to do it, okay? You're going to attempt to do it with just the end of the rope, and it goes like this. 1.5, 1.5. So I'm going to stop counting that because it always confuses me to do that. So I make the rope small, and it actually kind of helps. I did more than 1.5 there. It kind of helps to wear a hat like I'm wearing a cowboy hat, because if you don't do full rotation, because doing a butterfly is turning, rotate, turning, rotate, turning, rotate. If you're not getting good rotation in your body, turn, rotate, watch what happens. I hit myself in the head. So if I don't turn all the way and my rope's not perfect, and I just kind of go like that, I'm not turned all the way. Turn, 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 turn. Keeping arm in, arm in, arm in, arm in, turn, turn. And do this for a while so you understand the beat. It's almost like having chucks, nunchucks. This is the cowboy nunchucks. You're just practicing with a rope, the end, to get the butterfly, because this is the butterfly. And when you do the butterfly and you do those for a while, you get the rhythm and you go boom. Sorry, let me get control of this. Sometimes I don't have the space. Even though it looked like I was doing more with that one rope, I'm not. I'm doing the same thing I did with that rope. Trying to keep my hand in and doing the butterfly. So it looks like this. I'm going to try to make that rope smaller, and because I have my rope somewhat coiled here, I can pull it in and have control over it. And I make the rope smaller. And this is how you do a butterfly. Boom, 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 boom. Trying to turn my body. Now I'm doing less turn because I've been doing this for a while. But technically you should be going boom, 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 boom. And there it is. Now, it stopped. And the reason why the rope stopped is because it caught the bottom of this hanging down. That's why I said coil your ropes, okay? Coil your ropes. And get this in order. I'm having a hard time. And here we go. So again, it's turn and throw. Turn and throw. Turn and throw. Yesterday I was trying to do this lesson with someone via Skype, because I do lessons via Skype or Facebook, and Facebook video and Periscope, whatever. There's lots of ways of doing it. You can do it through your iPhones on, whatever it's called on iPhone. FaceTime, I think it's called. I showed him and this gentleman doing the butterfly, and he was trying to do the butterfly, and I told him that his body was moving too much and that he needed to keep it less and keep the rope in, because if you don't do that, you lose what I'd say, and this most important part is the center of the rope. It's always about the center of the rope. So I'm in the center. I'm in the center. If I get out of the center, then I'm going to lose my rope. Because again, if you had a bicycle and that bicycle wheel was not in the center with the spokes and they're off and they're too tight on one, I think you know what I'm talking about with spokes, then it would not spin correctly. And our hand is the spoke is actually the center point. And that's why when you do it right, you can actually do bounces and rollovers and control it. And now that I have this, I can feed it in and out and make this all look magical. So here again, I'm going to break down the butterfly. If you have any questions, you definitely have, you can get a hold of me, howtocowboytricks.com, or email me will@actorwillroberts.com and check it out. So you're going to take it here. 1, 2, I know what I was going to say earlier, is this gentleman I was teaching yesterday was doing this. He would take his hand and he'd turn it this way and then he'd go like that. No, don't do that. Because if you do that, you're missing the rhythm and the motion that sync up. So if you do this and then turn it, you can do that and do it if you want, but it just doesn't look good, and you're more inclined to make it into an issue when you spin the rope. So this is part of it. Here and turn. Boom, 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 boom. Turning, 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 turning. Ready for the count again. I know I'm going over the same thing over and over again, but this is a chance for you to watch, listen, and actually have your rope and try to do it. So I'm going to turn around in a second and let you see it the other way. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then that way. 1, so it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I think it's that. I think it's a waltz tempo. Let me try it. 1, 2, 3. No, it's not. It's just me counting that way and not being correct. So, it's just straight across. Keep your arm in if you can, because it's about keeping it centered and keeping the center access the same way each time. Roping is really only being consistent. Every time you do it, we do it over and over again. It's like cracking a whip. I mean, you can do lots of different things to get a whip to crack. It's like a golf club. You see some guys and gals go, and you go, how did you ever possibly hit that ball? But the reality is that it doesn't matter what happens here. It's all about right there when you hit the ball. Same thing with roping. I don't care what you do, how you do it, but if you get it right there and you have it consistent and you work on this consistency, that's the key to roping. When you do it, you practice it, and you understand the center is the center of the rope. I hope I can get this out. It's the center of the rope, okay? I'm always in the center of the rope, okay? This is hard to do here in this small space. You're always in the center. My hand is in the center. Always in the center. If you're trick roping and your arm's going all over the place, it's going to be tough for you to get it in the center. So think Jedi Master, like martial arts, where it's all here and the energy is boom, boom. So do that. Well, now let me turn around and show you what's up. I'm going to show it to you this way in case you're looking at it going, I don't get it because he's not turned the right way. Watch. Same thing, around, boom. This is harder this way because I want you to see what I look like from the back doing this as I'm turning. I got a stool over here I'm hitting. But I wanted you just to see how it looks that way, okay? So that's it. Just to recap, I recommend you coil your rope, and look, it's kind of kinked up. Every once in a while, and every couple minutes, just for the fun of it, I want you to take your rope and just kind of stroke it and let it spin in your hands and get the kinks out of it, and then coil it. Oh, by the way, I showed this yesterday to the gentleman, and I'll show you folks. This, in my opinion, is the way that you coil a rope, and I've seen a lot of other cowboys do this, and a lot of my stuff, because I spent 30 years in entertainment, you know, I'm not the best that there is at this. I'm not. Just not. I mean, you got Luke Browns, you got AJ Silver, you got, you know, Ryder Kisner, a bunch of these people that are amazing and they're phenomenal. I'll say I'm more of an entertainer, but I do, you know, I rope and spin guns and whatever the case may be. So there it is. But I like to be able to look when we're doing this stuff, cowboy or cow folk. And here's a way of coiling your rope. Please don't take your rope in public and go like this and then go, you know, like this, and don't do it because it looks funky. Learn and watch videos and get the you know, the attitude down. So you take it, it's full, it comes over naturally, you can feel it, and turn your hand under, stroke, throw it over, throw it over, throw it over, throw it over. When I learned this a long time ago, I tell you, my wife was happy that I could then take cords in the garage and put them up the right way. That's how you coil a rope. Just throw it over. Your hand comes under and throws it over, and it creates that nice little feel. You can feel it, and the rope goes in, and you do that. If you want to make that rope now ready for performance, simply take, I think it's called threading the needle, where you have the Hondu like this, you keep your body straight, your hands straight, and you're going to have it up here like this, because you're going to feed this rope, and it looks like this. And you are ready to spin your rope. Remember those two tricks, those little add-ons. Again, it's here, about a foot down the rope. Don't hold it here. Don't hold it here, because it would be really hard to regain your rope back. You want to hold it down about a foot. Did that little eye of the needle thing. And then what you want to do is hold it about waist high. You're going to turn your hand over and you're going to throw it into a circle. Throw. And 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. You're basically spinning it and twisting it using your wrist, not your arm. Don't use your arm, use your wrist, because your wrist stays in the center and it's basically right here turning the rope. And then you get into where you can do zigzags and so on. Can't do this rope right now. And all this different stuff. Oh, so you can't even see that, it's not in the camera. So anyway, so that's how you do it. And to practice, I recommend that you take it like this, a foot down, and you just go simply by keeping your arms in your body, 1.5. And you know, look at this in the mirror or videotape it, but see how it's going like this and like this? Because if you don't do it the right, you know, turn your body the right way, it also, notice how that's not the same angle? That's going at a different angle. It's not going this way, it's going at an angle. And you really want to keep it here, here, 1 1/2, and a half, and a half, and a half. 1 and, damn, hard to explain that. 1 1/2, 1 1/2, 1 1/2. You draw the rope across, and draw it, and draw it. And when you draw it back and forth, you'll get yourself a nice butterfly. Work on that. I know that's a complicated trick to do. It's also a really cool trick once you get it down and you're spinning it. Just try to keep your energy focused right here and don't go all over the place. That is called the butterfly, and we added some other little fun things in it, the different types of ropes that you saw me talking about, the type that Ryder uses. I think Luke uses this stuff too, Luke Rollins, with the metal Hondu, and I have just a burner. Either way you try to do this, you know, much success to you. You know how to get a hold of me, howtocowboytricks.com. Check it out, send it to a friend, get him for a birthday, and let's get, or Christmas or whatever, or mitzvah, doesn't matter. Get him a kit and get him going, because let's keep the Western arts alive, all right? See you, partners.